Good morning, my fellow West Knits knitters. It's Thursday, October 16th, and Clue 3 has come out. It is currently 4:27 a.m. I've got my Clue 3 ready to go inside of Knit Companion, and I see that it is 10 pages long this week. And as we saw from Clue 1, 16 pages can be not a ton. And what was last week? 5 pages can be quite a lot, or at least it can be as much as 16 pages. And I guess I'm showing my shawl. There is what Clue 1 and Clue 2 look like so far. And a quick recap of my colors. This is my color A, my color B, color C, and its matching mohair, and color D. I have not looked to see if this is going to be a mohair week or not, but I still do have this mohair that I opted not to use in week 1. So I might use it. I kind of regret not using it in week 1, but it is what it is. I'm not going back to add it into the welts this week. So I'm very excited to dive into the clue. I do not look ahead. I do not look at the video for spoilers. I stay completely spoiler free, and I knit through the clue as much as possible, only checking the video in parts that I might be confused on, which lately has not been much, which I appreciate a lot. And I will update you on my progress, any little hiccups that I catch along the way, or tips and tricks, anything like that. So I'm ready to see what Clue 3 brings us and to figure out where on this shawl we're picking up, because the last thing that we did was leave off Clue 2. We are on barber cord, so we are not even on the current or most recent live stitches. So again, we're trying to figure out which direction this shawl is going to go. There are lots of possibilities. All right, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and dive in, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, I haven't even picked up a stitch yet, but I just turned to page 3 of the instructions, and I'm looking at Mohair Dare, and it says that we are doing modular squares this week, so that's interesting. And also you can use mohair either with a color or by itself. But then the other thing that I see is the yardage used this week is actually very small. I thought for sure weeks 3 and 4 were going to be quite large, because so far our shawl is not huge, but about 50 grams of yarn this week, so that is less than weeks 1 and week 2. That means week 4 has got to be a monster clue. I'm so intrigued. So that being said, section 3 is the first start of the shawl, and it says it's modular blocks. So I'm going to go ahead and start some modular blocks. My knitting time has gone by way too fast this morning. It is time for me to go to work, but let me show you what I got done. So I finished that first triangle, and I started the next. I'm not sure if we're calling these squares or triangles. He said this was modular strip 1, and I think this is modular strip 2. So I'm not sure. I have not looked ahead, but I will tell you I am looking at the videos for where to pick up on this I-cord. I think it could possibly be explained just a little bit better in order to not need the video, but I'm thankful the video is there. So that is what it's looking like. I really don't know where this is going. It's not at all what I expected. I'm not sure what I expected, but it wasn't this. So that first one, we went down to 4 stitches, and I just have that held on a little removable stitch marker. And I did see that when I'm finished with this portion of it, these stitches will go on with these. But after that, I have no idea what happens. I know I am enjoying it so far. I do like modular knitting. That doesn't bother me. I really like the way that Stephen does the modular knitting. That's the back side. And you can see it just really nicely butts up to one another. And on the front side, it just looks pretty seamless. So that is what I'm going to work on when I get home from work, but now I have to run out the door and go deal with things. So I will talk to you real soon. I had a very long day at work today. It's amazing how 10 hours can sometimes feel short and sometimes feel very long. Today was one of the long days, but I'm home now. I finished the second little motif. This was the first one in color C, and I've completed one in color D. I am a little bit confused by what they are calling things. This was the start of modular strip 1, and this is modular strip 2. They had you end with those 4 stitches on, I used the removable stitch marker, and now they are all on one needle. So to say that I do not understand or know what is coming is absolutely the truth. I don't have any guesses. The next portion of instructions is going to be called Triangle 2, so I assume it's going to look something like that, although maybe it will be pointing the opposite direction. I'm not sure, but I'll soon find out. I still have not seen any spoilers, which is making me happy, but I have seen some talk about the clue, how people are saying this one just doesn't seem to go with the rest of the shawl. And that may be the case, but I'm hoping that clue 4 will tie everything together. We shall see. The other thing I wanted to mention to you, and I'm going to have to pause real quick and pull it up on my computer, but I saw that the stitch tracker stitch counts for clue 3 are out, and to me it is very confusing because it does not coincide with how much yarn it says it's going to use for this clue. I think I mentioned clue 1 was roughly 60-ish grams, clue 2 was like 75-ish grams, and then this clue looks to be about 50 grams. So that in my head means less stitches. But let me pull up this, and actually I'm going to have to move you real quick because my computer's in the way. And of course this is the time it is asking for a password instead of just my fingerprint, so that's fun. And actually I'm just going to pause because it's going to take me a second to find this. Okay, the post by Frayed Knot, the same one I mentioned in clue 1 and clue 2 video, says that the stats for clue 3 is a total of 27,193 stitches, and that is 3,885 stitches per day in order to finish the clue for clue 4, to be ready for clue 4. And I don't know, that just really doesn't match up with less yarn but more stitches, because clue 1 was 1,780 stitches per day. Clue 2 was 2,200 or thereabouts. And this is almost double, but less yarn. Make it make sense. My head isn't mathing. I'm sure there is probably just a calculation error there somewhere, either on the yarn requirements or the stitch counts. I'm just going to keep knitting because that's what I'm going to do. I do hope it's a bigger clue than the 50 grams. That's my hope. But also, now I just need to knit like the wind. So I'm going to do that. I will keep checking in after each of these sections until it seems like they're repeating, if they do repeat. If not, I'm going to be doing a lot of check-ins. But I will see you then. I'm back. And I mean it just like that, like I'm the creepy lady from the TV thing with my head spinning around, because that's how I feel knitting this so far. Not really, it's not that bad, but I think I'm starting to see kind of a theme. Actually, I guess I should hold it like this because I think that's the best way to look at it. And I see that the next section is called Modular Strip 3. That's harder to say than you think. And that will be picked up right here. And I believe it's going to be knit down this way. So I don't know if I have to make a prediction. I'm guessing this one's going to have 2 of these square things and end with a triangle. I don't know. It seems like a good guess. So do we think then that this is the top of the shawl? I still don't know. Actually, yeah, that could work. I don't know. I'm going to keep knitting away, and I still don't know exactly where this is going, but I think I will check in again probably once I finish modular strip 3. We'll see what colors that uses. It's going to start with color B. That will be wedged next to this. Then I'm not sure where it's going from there. I will update you when I know. I don't want to look too far ahead. I'm back with an update. I finished modular strip number 3. So number 1 is the top triangle, 2 had 1 square and a triangle, and 3 has 2 squares, or I guess really they're rectangles and a triangle. So the next one is modular strip number 4, which will be attached right below that one here. Once you get going, this seems fairly intuitive because like here when I was working with color B, you're attaching to color D. And so you just keep going until you've attached the last strip, and then you change colors, keep attaching, and then you do this triangle bit. So it seems fairly straightforward. The problem that I have with straightforward is my brain will start to wander, I'll quit paying as much attention as I was, and then I mess up. So I'm trying to be very careful and make sure that I'm doing the right thing, but I'm very excited to see how this is going. Isn't that so interesting? The triangle bit comes across this part of the scallop, and this lines up with the brioche part of the scallop, and then this one lines up with the slip stitches. That looks cool. Actually, I kind of like that. So you have a more soft version over here and a more harsher lines version. I was hearing people say that this clue didn't make sense, but seeing it like that, I think it kind of does make sense. Very interesting. I cannot wait to see this keep going because I could see this one being very similar, having those same 3 coming off of that one. We'll see. We'll see if that's a correct prediction. I do like that my color C has the mohair, and that is the framing color here. I think that looks quite nice. Those are my thoughts for the moment. I'm going to keep going. It is 6:18 p.m. Maybe I will get modular strip 4 done tonight before I call it quits for bed, but we'll see how far I do get. I will let you know. I'm back for my final day 1 update. I did complete module strip number 4. So that has all 4 colors. I'm looking at the row or stitch tracker. According to that, I've completed 246 rows because obviously these are very short little sections rows. To have finished enough of the pattern to be on par for completing the entire clue by the time the next clue comes out, I should have finished 312 rows. So I am short by, what's that, like 60-ish rows, which obviously moves pretty quickly in a pattern like this. So I'm not too worried. Obviously I worked today. I did not do a ton of knitting today. I will have more knitting time tomorrow, quite a lot more. And I'm hoping to make really good progress. I still have not seen a spoiler, but I'm assuming that this continues in this same fashion. I think it looks pretty cool. I was thinking of, I don't think it's really a musical thing, but do you know in music where I think it's called a round, like row your boat can be sung in a round where one person starts row your boat and then the next person starts while they're singing that, and it's just like this repeated kind of thing. That reminds me of this. I don't know why, but that's what popped into my head. So I'm here singing Row Your Boat as I'm knitting away. And on that note, I think it's time for me to go to bed because I am clearly delirious. There is how it's looking so far. I think that's pretty cool. So if this is the top and this is kind of extending on the scallops, will clue 4 be an extension of the squiggles? Every time I think I know the direction that a Stephen West MusiKAL pattern is going, I am for sure wrong, so I'm sure that is not right. I will check in with you tomorrow when I have more progress. Good morning. It is 8:23 in the morning on Friday, October 18th. Nope, 17th. It's only the 17th. I'm trying to live in the future, apparently. I have spent some time knitting this morning. I finished the 5th modular strip. So 5th, we have 5 little sections, and I have to say, I saw a spoiler on Facebook. I wish I wouldn't have seen the spoiler. Not that I don't want to still knit this. I still obviously would, but it just takes a little bit of the surprise away for me, which is a bummer. That being said, I'm excited to keep knitting, but a few things popped into my head when I saw what we have of the shawl so far. One, I think this is going to be referred to as the psychedelic acid trip shawl. 2, then it came into my mind, I'm not a musicals person, but I am aware that there is a musical called Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, and that's based on the coat of many colors. I think that's what it's called in the Bible. Again, don't know much about the story or anything like that, but this popped into my head, and then I thought this could be Shauna's shawl of many colors, Technicolor shawl of many colors. I don't know. I told you I was delusional last night. I'm not making much more sense this morning. That is what it looks like so far. I'm slightly worried about my mohair sections because they seem to be, of course, they're slightly larger than the non-mohair sections, but I think it should block out okay, I hope. I did decide not to do the mohair in the color B. I'm just sticking to it. I think 2 with mohair would just be a little bit too much. But I'm going to keep going. I have a live on YouTube with Tabitha and Neil this morning, so I don't know how much knitting I'm going to get done. And since this portion remains repetitive, like the next one is modular strip 6, and we go all the way to modular strip 9. I don't think there's going to be a lot to say about these next little sections, but there is one more part of the clue. So there is something different that's coming after this, but I will definitely check in when I'm done with these strips or the end of the day, whichever comes first. And I think the end of the day will probably come first, but I will chat with you then. I'm back, and it is not the end of the day, nor have I finished all 9 of the modular strips. I'm back because I have some observations, some comments, some insights, some things. So let me show you where I'm at the moment. I have just finished the 7th modular strip, and I'm wondering if from there you can see my goof up. That's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. So this section right here, my color B, which is the light color, somehow I accidentally only did 11 repeats, and I should have done 12 of these garter ridges is what it should be, but it's 11. So I didn't realize that till I was knitting my A color here, and I just kind of fudged it in. And it works okay. But I think you can see it. I mean, you can certainly see it here. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's too noticeable. And I definitely don't think it's worth ripping back for. So I'm not ripping back. That was the first thing. The second thing, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you a good spot or not. It's very strange. I don't have a good spot because I did weave in some ends. But every now and again, this section right here, so the area where 4 kind of join, the last bit, I at times am getting holes. And I can't figure out why I would be getting holes only sometimes, because to my knowledge, I am knitting it all exactly the same. So I'm curious to know if anyone else is getting those holes. And like I said, I have just remedied that by weaving in some of the ends to kind of tighten it up. So that's observation number 2. Well, my goof up is number 1. That's number 2. The other thing I wanted to say is that I had talked about the discrepancy of how many stitches this clue had and how much yarn it was saying it used. I went back and read the pattern today, and the first time I read it, I was in such a hurry, plus I didn't really know at all, had no idea what the clue was going to look like. So I assumed that when it talked about the yarn requirements for clue 3, keyword, it says section 3. I didn't know there was another section. There is, spoiler. So that is the yarn only for section 3. So I have not looked forward in the pattern, but I assume that later on, pages down, it will say this much yarn was used for section 4 of clue 3. That's only a guess, but I was correct in that it says it's about 50-ish grams. So that 50 grams should just be for this section. So I have 2 more of these strips to knit. I'm knitting kind of this direction, that direction, I guess. The back is a disaster. Even though I've been doing the weave and steven, usually when I do a weave and steven, I do it across more stitches than what's on the back of here. Some of these in the teal especially are not woven in at all, so I'll have to go back and do that. But a lot of these just need to be snipped. However, I think I probably will weave through just a couple times, just because I don't want them to come loose. It's gonna be a real joy. I think that was everything. That's my update for today. Oh yes, one more thing. So I'm looking just behind you, behind the camera here, to where I have the spreadsheet that I've mentioned many times. And I have just now finally gotten to where if I stop today, I would be on track to finish the clue by the time clue 4 comes out. But I don't want to stop, so I want to keep going. I don't know, I really don't think it's possible that I will get the next 2 strips completely done today though. It is 3:17 p.m. My husband will be home somewhat soon, and then my dogs are playing and running after each other. My husband will be home, and then we'll cook dinner and get ready for dinner or get ready for bed and do all that. So I probably have maybe 2 hours left of knitting for the day, and I don't think that's enough. Well, I know it's not enough to finish the 2 longest strips there. So that's my update. I will show you where I leave off at the end of today. I'll do that either today or I'll start tomorrow's video by showing you how far I get today. Good morning, October 18th. It is Saturday, and as promised, this is where I got to at the end of my knitting day yesterday. I did knit on some baubles after this. We went and watched more episodes of Only Murders in the Building, but I am I'm exactly halfway through strip 8. So I have this much more again, and then I have strip 9. And then that's the end of section 3 of clue 3. I do have to say though, while I was working on that bauble last night, my finger joint started hurting. And in the past, I've had issues with this finger joint, never this one, my right hand. So I'm gonna give it a go and see how it is. I'm a little bit afraid that I'm going to have to not knit as much as I want to today, but we'll see. I'm not gonna overdo it, but I would like to, I want to finish this clue. That's not gonna happen today, I don't think, but I would like to at least finish this part. So I will check in with you later. It's time for a Clue 3 update. I have finished the modular strips and I'm getting ready to start section 4, which is called slip stitches. I calculated how much yarn I've used so far, and excuse me, for just the modular strips, including mohair in all of the teal sections, that used 65.4 grams of yarn. Looking to section 4 with Stephen's estimates of yarn used, it's going to be another 50, it's either 48 or 58. I think it's 48 grams more. So literally almost double what I've already used. Looking at the stitch or row counter spreadsheet, I have currently finished 1,096 rows. At the 912 row mark, I was even with how much I would need to have done by today to finish the clue by the time Clue 4 comes out. But I'm going to keep going. My finger's doing okay. It's not any better or worse, so I'm just going with it. Probably not the smartest idea, but that being said, when I get to Monday, my knitting will significantly decrease, not increase, per day because I'll be at work. So I am going to get started on the next part. I think you can hopefully see most of the shawl there, but when I have it covering my face, I can't see it, so I think you saw most of it. The back is still a huge mess. I'm going to make that a problem for Shauna for a different day, or at least a different time. Not going to worry about that right now. I don't have any huge comments to say about the modular section that I have not already said, but section 4 does look like it is starting with these stitches that are on hold, which when I saw the spoiler, I did not realize that was the case. So I'm very interested to see how that changes this section. Going into it, I can't think of anything else other than to say I am interested to see how this section impacts the rest of the shawl. Just looking at others, I have to agree with a lot of the opinions that it doesn't seem like it flows or goes together very well. But I'm trusting the process. I'm trusting in Stephen, and even if I don't completely agree that it would be a choice that I would have made, I know that I will appreciate it for the design that it is. So I'm going to keep going, and I will check in with you later. It is time for me to take a break and get dinner started. I'm going to be making some, it's a cheddar broccoli, but it doesn't have cheddar. It's a healthy version of broccoli soup. And I made a loaf of bread earlier. But I do have an update on how section 4 of Clue 3 is going. And there is what it is looking like. Bit hard to see with the shadows, but I love how this teal and this orangey brown go together. It's so pretty. So I finished the first little stripe, if you will. So far that I've finished 9 rows, which puts me 15% of the way through section 4. I have also finished enough rows or stitches that I am through what I would have to finish by tomorrow. So I feel pretty good about that. And I'm not sure that I'll get any more knitting done today. Ideally, I would love to have this clue finished tomorrow, Sunday, before I go back to work. I don't even know if that is in the realm of possibilities, but we'll see. So this may be my last check-in for today. That's where I'm leaving off. If not, I will check in, or like I did this morning, I will show you tomorrow where I am picking up for the day. So the little slip stitch section, well, I guess this is technically the slip stitch is the teal. The bumps, the next color will be color B. No, it's going to go in gradient order. The next color will be color D and then B. So that's how that is going to go. And each section is separated by color C, the teal, and I am holding the mohair with that. And I like how this section looks. Like, just looking at this part, I do like how this goes together. I just don't see how it goes with the rest. So I'm hoping that we get something that ties it all together in Clue 4. I know I keep saying that, but we shall see. Happy Sunday. I'm checking in for the first time on the 19th of October. And this is how far I got last night. So I finished the second garter bump reverse stockinette. I don't know what it's being called. The slip stitch section. I finished the second stripe. According to the, oh my goodness, I just lost a bunch of stitches. Check that out. Yep, I need to pick that up. But I checked the, the spreadsheet thing, and it says I'm 20% through this portion of the clue. So I'm hoping that that means I could possibly get done today. Crisis averted. Stitches are picked up. Good thing I noticed that before I really threw it across the table here or something. So it is pouring here on the Oregon coast. I've got my coffee. It's 6:30 in the morning, and my plans are to knit and do laundry. How exciting. I will check in with you when I have an update. These rows are getting shorter. Did you just hear that thunder? Holy moly. The rows are getting shorter, so I'm hoping that means the clue will start going faster. It doesn't feel like it's going slow. I just haven't had a lot of time to actually work on it. So that's what I'm going to do today. Fingers crossed, maybe we can get finished. It's time for an update. It is just about 10:30 in the morning. This is what I have so far. According to the stitch tracker, I am at 51% of section 4 done. So that means I have done 30% this morning, and I'm feeling like finishing this section might be possible. I really do love how this looks. I think it's very cool. One thing I'm concerned about are these ends. I did watch Steven's video. He says just poke them to the back and weave them in. But if you can kind of see, I don't feel like that I-cord's going to be complete. I think it's going to look weird. So I'm going to do my best to, you hear that? I've been doing laundry, so I've not just been knitting today. But anyway, I think that I-cord is not going to look complete. The other thing I want to say before the laundry buzzer goes off again is to make sure that you are holding your floats loosely when you are doing the reverse stockinette sections so that you don't get bunching in the slip stitch section. I think that's all the insights that I have. I'm going to keep knitting, and I'm still hoping to get this done today. Definitely not ends woven in, done, but done knitting. I will check in later. Quick check-in. It is 1:10 p.m. and I'm at 75% through the section 4 section. You can see my stitch markers right here. So the amount of stitches I'm having to work now is under 100 per row, and that is very motivating. So I feel like I can do 25% more today, I think. Let's hope. Bam, the clue is done. I am so happy to have the knitting for Clue 3 done. It is about 4:45 p.m. on Sunday. No more knitting to be done. I am going to pull these ends to the back. I'm not going to worry about weaving them in just yet, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to get this on a very long barber cord. I have a whole tube of this stuff that I got off of Amazon. It works wonderfully. The great thing is that the tube is quite inexpensive, so at times I cut it. This one I will probably just string it on just for the photo and then take it off and wind it back on here. That's my preference. I don't like to cut it if I don't have to, but sometimes I do. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to weigh my yarn. I will come back for final thoughts, final totals, all those things. That last row is 4% of clue, section 4 of clue 3. It's a long one. 478 stitches on the needles right now. It's a bit hard to tell exactly what shape or make any guesses with it on this 40-inch cord. So I'm hoping to get a better idea once it's all flattened out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will be back real soon for you, but I have a feeling it's going to take a while for me. Okay, the shawl is all on the cord, which was a bit more challenging than I had hoped it would be. I think just because it's so big, and really it was the wavy section that was causing me problems. So there is as much as I can show you here, but I did get some decent photos that I will pop in at the end, so wait for that. Before we get there, let me just say that section 4, so this bit right here, that used 9.2 grams of color A, it used 8 grams of color B, 23.3 grams of color C, and 8.9 grams of color D, as well as 10.2 grams of my mohair. So these are looking quite a lot smaller than when I started, but that being said, I still have 190 grams here. There is approximately half of each skein left, with C, color C being the least, that has 41.4 grams. So that means that clue 4 has the opportunity to be quite large. And if you have not seen my previous videos or my previous shawls, I tend to always make them even bigger than the biggest size. So that leaves me a lot to work with. In total, the entire shawl, every little bit so far, has used 270 grams of yarn. So that is pretty good. That includes the mohair. I was like, that doesn't make sense, but yes, that includes the mohair. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Thank you for joining me. We are almost done with this shawl. I cannot wait to see what clue 4 brings. One little note before I forget to tell you, I did pull all of the ends from this section 4 to the back using a crochet hook. They're not woven in, but just that little bit of pulling them to the back, I have more confidence that my I-cord is going to look okay, because there for a while I was pretty sure it was not going to look like an I-cord at all. So that's good. Things seem to be going okay. I'm very intrigued by the fact that one side is pretty straight and one side is wavy. So I'm very curious to see how a border can incorporate both of those things, if the waves will smooth out to something straight or if the straight edge might become wavy. Who knows? We have a few more days to wait. In those couple days, I'm going to be weaving in ends and anticipating clue 4. I'd love to hear your experience so far. Please leave me a comment down below, and I will see you soon for clue 4 and the final shawl reveal. Talk to you soon. Bye.